Did you know that chlorella is a nutritional supplement that not only has benefits for detoxification, it can also support your hormone health and more? Welcome to the Wild Wisdom Show. I'm Dr. Patricia Mills, holistic medical doctor with the root cause approach to health. And today we're going to be talking all about the benefits of chlorella. And it's really quite fascinating because chlorella is a type of green algae, and it is chock full of incredible nutrients, and it actually has a unique nutrient profile compared to all other plants. And therefore, it has some unique benefits for detoxification, hormone health, and some other surprising benefits I'm going to get into over the course of this Wild Wisdom Show episode. So, first, let's dive into the benefits in detoxification. And what's fascinating is that there are actually 6 potential methods that have been researched and proven in science that chlorella assists our natural detoxification process and actually provides some additional detoxification benefits that our body can't do on its own. So, the first method is that chlorella has this fascinating ability to bind to heavy metals and toxins. So, actually, this is one of the reasons why when you do chlorella supplementation, you want to make sure it's really good quality, because if it is grown in a place that actually is contaminated by heavy metals, it will latch on to those heavy metals. So, that's an important consideration when you're buying chlorella supplements. But when you have a clean chlorella supplement and you take it into your body, it will then bind heavy metals like lead, mercury, cadmium, manganese, aluminum, and other environmental toxins. So the research has shown this to happen both in animals and in humans. So we're going to be covering some of that later on. The second amazing ability that that chlorella has in the body is its support of detoxification pathways in the liver through various mechanisms in the liver, but also in the gallbladder. So chlorella seems to also help emptying of the gallbladder, like emptying that bile out of the gallbladder. And the way that a lot of toxins are detoxified in our body is that the toxins get sent to the liver. The liver breaks down the toxins, makes them safe for elimination so that it then gets put into the bile, which drips into the gallbladder. Or if you don't have your gallbladder, if that's removed, it'll just drip directly into the small intestine. And then once your gallbladder is stimulated to release its bile with a fatty meal, that bile gets dumped into the small intestine, into the gut, and gets mixed up with your poop, and then you poop it out. Right now, that does depend on things like the healthy status of your gut microbiome, which are those organisms living inside your gut that do, like bacteria, parasites, yeast, and those things. And they do actually help with detoxification. But in order for them to be helpful, first you need to get those toxins out of your body and into your poop. And chlorella helps you do that. One other way that chlorella helps you do that is that chlorella is rich in what's called antioxidants. So, antioxidants are nutrients that help the liver detoxify. So, when the liver detoxifies toxins, it creates a bit of inflammation in the liver, and antioxidants help put out that inflammation so that the liver doesn't get damaged and it can continue to do its job. And certain antioxidants like chlorophyll, beta carotene, vitamin C, and lutein help liver detoxification. And chlorella is very high in those nutrients. So, and uniquely, it has all of those nutrients together, which is really, really cool. What I also love about chlorella, when I started going deep down the chlorella rabbit hole, and it's one of the reasons why I take chlorella still, is that it has additional nutrients that, again, you would not find in other plants. For example, it has all of the vitamins that you need, including vitamin B12, which is normally not found in plants, which is why vegans and vegetarians have to be careful with supplementing B12, because B12 is normally found either in animal foods or in fermented foods. And it has vitamin D. Now, it does have the vitamin D2 form, And supplements that you use to supplement vitamin D are usually the vitamin D3 form, which scientists believe that it's more available to the body and more easily converted into the active form of vitamin D. But at least you are getting a source of vitamin D with chlorella. And this could be important, for example, if you are someone who's vegan or vegetarian, because those nutrients are highly important for bodily function, including detoxification. Chlorella is also a source of omega-3s, which is one of the reasons why people who are vegan or vegetarian will use algae oil to supplement for their omega-3s. Although, just so you know, it's not the DHA and EPA omega-3s that you do find in things like fish. It's the kind of omega-3s that you find in plants, like flax seeds and walnuts. But it's cool that chlorella has that, which is important. It also has really important minerals for thyroid health, like selenium and iodine. And it has iron, which could be important if you're low in iron. It has lots of fiber. The cell walls of chlorella are a really healthy kind of fiber. And surprisingly, it has protein, quite a bit of protein. Now, when we're talking about comparing chlorella to other nutrients, for example, chlorella has more folate than spinach. And what's really cool is that the iron in chlorella is very available to the body and actually will prevent iron deficiency anemia. And anemia can actually occur not just from iron deficiency, but from problems with the vitamin B12s, for example. And this study I loved, this study on chlorella in 32 women who were in their second and third trimester of pregnancy, they were given 6 grams of chlorella a day. Now, that's a pretty good dose in pregnant women. So, first of all, this study showed safety. It's safe to do so even when you're pregnant to take chlorella. But they took these women and they gave it to them for 12 to 18 weeks. And they had decreased markers of anemia. So the women who were supplemented had less evidence of anemia. So they had really good red blood cell levels, which is a problem in people who are pregnant. But also, a lot of women and individuals do have problems with anemia. So it's good to know that chlorella can help with that, has the potential to help with that. And it also helped decrease edema or the swelling of pregnancy compared to the women who were pregnant who did not take the chlorella. And one of the reasons why this is that chlorella is higher in protein content than even soybean. So soybean, for example, is 33% dry weight protein, and chlorella is 59%. Now, remember, you're not going to be having as much chlorella as you would have a dish with edamame or tofu or tempeh. But it is interesting to note that chlorella had enough protein in it that it prevented the edema that is usually associated with low protein states in pregnancy, low protein in the blood. The other cool thing about chlorella is that it's high in the what's called the amino acids. So proteins are made out of building blocks, okay? And one of the issues with eating a plant-based diet is that there's a concern about you getting all of the essential amino acids. So there's about 9 essential amino acids, 9 to 11, depending on what sources you're looking at. And what's really cool about chlorella is it actually is a source of all essential amino acids. That again is unique to chlorella. There's no other plant that has this profile. And it's uniquely high in an amino acid, which is a building block of protein called arginine. Arginine is really important for heart and blood vessel health. It causes the release of the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that causes those blood vessels to open up and dilate, which lowers blood pressure in a good way. And actually, chlorella supplementation has been shown to reduce hypertension in humans. So again, it's just fascinating how it's a super nutritional supplement. One could even consider it a multivitamin source. So that's a really cool thought. The fifth way that chlorella supports detoxification is that it improves immune functions, which whenever you support your immune function, which that is that part of the body that helps fight off foreign invaders like infections and toxins, The immune system will also help eliminate toxins from your body. So you're kind of indirectly supporting detoxification by supporting that immune function. Sixth is that you have promotion of digestive health. So you need a really healthy gut, and particularly a really healthy gut microbiome to detoxify toxins. Actually, our gut microbiome, one of the jobs they do for us is help us get rid of toxins that we, eat or drink. And even before it gets into our body, there's the potential for that gut microbiome to get rid of that toxin for us before it even enters our body. So it's kind of like a first line of defense. And also, it's a last line of defense, which I mentioned before, which is when the bile gets dumped into the gut, you want to make sure that the gut microbiome is doing the work of keeping the toxins in the poop instead of getting that, those toxins reabsorbed into the body from the poop. And what we know now is that chlorella has a really positive effect on the gut microbiome. It's kind of like a superfood for them too. So they like chlorella, we like chlorella, everybody is happy. Now, do you remember that I mentioned at the very beginning, the detoxification effect? Now, the question is, does it actually help with detoxification? So, I've given 6 different ways that it can assist natural detoxification. But if we give chlorella to humans, will we actually see an effect? Now, we have demonstrated this, we being the community of scientists around the world, not me specifically, it's not my area of research, but I dive into the research and look at what's been done. And what I see has been done is that this has been proven in animals over and over again. And just recently, they've been looking at it in humans. So, for example, there's a study published in 2018 titled Chlorella Supplementation Decreases Methylmercury. Okay. And that's a bad kind of mercury found in the environment that can get into humans. So it decreases methylmercury concentrations in the hair and blood of healthy volunteers. All right. And this was published in 2018. So it's quite recent, relatively speaking, because right now it's 2024. Does take about 20 years from research to go from, the lab to being put into practice by Western medicine. Hopefully that timeline, that gap is starting to narrow and become shorter over time. But this study shows that it actually did help get the body of these healthy volunteers, the bodies of these healthy volunteers get rid of the methylmercury. And this study was really, really cool. It was a study looking at removal of mercury that was in the body from dental silver fillings or amalgams, so fillings in the teeth, as well as these people also had titanium implants. And what you have to understand is that when you see a silver filling in your mouth or somebody else's mouth, it contains mercury. And there's enough research now to know that that mercury does leach into the body of humans that have that filling. Now, whether or not that causes problems is highly controversial. But just so you know, when a dentist removes a silver filling from a patient's mouth, they have to dispose of it as a biohazard and use extreme precautions because it's considered a significant toxin. So, why is it considered a serious toxin outside of the mouth, but not when it's leaching into our body? Just something to sit with and think about. But the good news is that they actually studied chlorella for the removal of mercury. And not only the mercury that was in the body from the silver fillings being there for a period of time, for at least 10 years, they were actually in the process of removing those fillings. And research shows that when you remove a mercury filled filling, a silver filling from a patient, the mercury in the body, if they were to measure your levels of mercury in the blood, your mercury levels would go up within about 24 hours because the process of removing the filling disturbs the mercury in it, and that can actually leach into your body. Now, there are multiple studies on safe removal of mercury. And they will use things like dams in the teeth to prevent the leaching. They will put carbon filters in the nose. They will use multiple precautions. And you actually, if you're ever going to get your silver fillings removed, be sure to work with a doctor who's aware of these additional safety protocols that are needed to really minimize your exposure to that mercury in the filling getting into your body and potentially even causing more damage than it did when it was sitting in your filling. So this is the thing about removing fillings, is that you have to really weigh the pros and cons, right, of that removal. But if you are going to remove that filling, ideally you have these safe protocols in place with your dentist, and also consider chlorella, because look at this. This study took a population of people ages 49 to 68 years old. They had 16 patients who had on average 4 dental fillings, silver fillings, for over 10 years. Okay, everyone had them for over 10 years. And the implants, the titanium implants on average were 3 per patient, 3 implants per patient. And then they had 21 controls, 21 people who did not have fillings and did not have implants as their control. And what they were doing was that at the start of the study, they were replacing the silver amalgams with BPA-free white composite. Okay. And every 20 days, they were replacing it because they were doing them in sections. That's part of the safe protocol to not overwhelm the system. You don't replace them all at once. You actually replace them in portions and at specific times. And they were using a safety protocol with the nasal carbon filters, but they didn't use the dam because they were studying the effect of the chlorella on reducing the mercury. And what they did is start with the start of the treatment of the removal of the amalgams, the fillings. They started them on 90 days of chlorella, as well as adequate protein and polyphenols. And they used supplements in this case that had, amino acids. Again, amino acids are the building block of protein. So amino acids like taurine, and polyphenols come from plants. Plants like artichoke, for example, and these polyphenols and these amino acids, again, are used by the liver to detoxify heavy metals. So you need to have an adequate source of protein and plants or polyphenols from plants in order to have optimal detoxification happening in your body. So these researchers just guaranteed that there was enough by supplementing the protein, the amino acids, and the polyphenols in addition to the chlorella. And what they found was that over 90 days of supplementation, the levels of mercury as well as tin and aluminum went down when they analyzed hair tissue. So the thing is that you have to understand is when you have a sudden exposure to mercury, the levels of mercury in your blood will go up for a period of time, and then it'll go down because your body will either eliminate it through your poop, for example, or it will take a portion of it and store it in different places of the body, like the hair, okay, like the bones or the tissues. It can even store it in the uterus and the tissues of the uterus, right? So that's what we don't want. We want to prevent that. But if that happens, we want to help the body get rid of it. And one way you can measure the body's ability to get rid of the mercury is by analyzing hair samples. And hair grows about an inch every 3 months. So if you take a hair sample at time 0, take about an inch from the scalp, and then you compare that to a hair sample 3 months later, an inch from the scalp, you see how much mercury has come out. Okay. And what they found was that they were getting better reduction in mercury, tin, and aluminum levels using hair tissue analysis. So they were very excited about these results. They also did a really cool analysis of the body's antioxidant ability, its ability to put out, damage from what's called reactive oxygen species or inflammation that can be caused by issues with heavy metals, for example, or other environmental toxins. And what they found is they measured this marker of antioxidant activity called SOD1 or superoxide dismutase 1 for those who are interested in that level of detail. And they found that there was an increased antioxidant activity compared to the people who are not receiving the supplementation. So the chlorella seemed to support the antioxidant ability of the body, which again was a really awesome finding that these researchers had. Now, next, I'm going to talk about the link between detox and hormone health, because there is a link. You're going to be super surprised at this link, and I can't wait to dive into it, First, I have a question from a Facebook user, and just so you know, you can come join in on these lives and ask your questions live when you join my free Facebook group for women called Wild Wisdom for Women with Dr. Patricia Mills. And the question I had here is, would this chlorella be broken cell chlorella? And this is a really, really great question because I went into the study and I actually got the original study and I looked at what they used. And they used this product called Green Flor, GREENFLOR. And unfortunately, it doesn't say whether it's broken cell wall chlorella or not. Now, generally, for those of you who aren't familiar with what broken cell wall chlorella is when you take the cell walls of the chlorella and you break them open so that the nutrients that are stored inside the cells are more available. And the general recommendation is that broken cell wall chlorella is better than non-broken cell chlorella products. Now, I was not able to find any research to suggest this, and it doesn't look like the product used here was broken cell chlorella. So it seems like benefits can be had even if you're not using broken cell wall chlorella. So that's just something to be noted. And also, this study didn't say specifically how much chlorella these people took. They said that it was 4 capsules of the chlorella. Oh, my apologies. I did end up looking this up. It was 80 milligrams of chlorella. And so 4 capsules would be about 320 milligrams of chlorella a day, and they took 2 capsules twice a day. So I did end up finding the amount for that study, which is great. I'm glad I remembered that. So thank you for your question. Let me know if you have any more questions popping up before the end of the show. So the link between detox and hormone health. Here's one link. Did you know that your thyroid health is negatively impacted by mercury? Okay, so a heavy metal called mercury. Now, there are many different kinds of heavy metals. Some of them are essential, okay, and like zinc, for example, and some of them are non-essential and actually quite harmful, like mercury, lead, and cadmium. And there was a question about whether or not exposure to mercury would cause hypothyroidism, a decreased function of the thyroid. So if you went into your family doctor or your endocrinologist and got testing done, you might get a high TSH and low levels of T3 and T4, for example. Or maybe you have what's called subclinical hypothyroidism, where your blood work is normal, but your thyroid isn't functioning optimally. It's just not so much that it's detected by blood work. And what you can experience is loss of the outer third of the eyebrows. So like the eyebrows getting a bit sparse on that outer third, hair loss, brittle hair, dry skin. You might experience problems with your metabolism because your thyroid is involved in metabolism. You might experience unexpected and unwanted weight gain, and everything kind of slows down. So you might get low mood, you might get depression, and those kinds of findings. So this study actually was what's called a meta-analysis published in 2021, again, pretty recent, where they took a number of different studies looking at this very question. And the results came out pretty strongly that mercury levels in the blood and hair of humans was related to decreased thyroid function. So whatever you can do to reduce the mercury in your blood would be very important, okay? And I have another question, that related question from a user. Hi, Kim, nice to see you. Glad you could join us here today. The question is, does chlorella help with amalgam fillings if they are left in? So while that study has not been done, what I can tell you based on the physiology and the workings of chlorella demonstrated by the study is that if you do have mercury in your body as a result of dental amalgams, and research seems to strongly suggest that that will be the case, that if you have silver fillings, you will have more mercury in your body compared to people who don't. And they've actually done this study on women and looked at their urine excretion of mercury. And when they remove the fillings, the urine excretion goes down over time. So suggesting that removing the source of the mercury caused, the body to excrete less of it. So if you do have the silver fillings in and you're choosing not to remove it, my opinion based on the totality of the research is that it would help get rid of the mercury that is being leached into your body. So in my opinion, based on the research, is that yes, it would probably help. And the other question is that, so worded in another way, does the positive effect of chlorella detox for silver fillings help if they are left intact? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is yes, based on the totality of the research. So thank you for your fantastic question. Now, the other link between the detoxification and what I'll call reproductive health is that heavy metals have been associated in humans with the development of uterine fibroids. Specifically, they see mercury in the tissues of these fibroids, which is very interesting. It's been linked with the formation of endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, infertility in humans, spontaneous abortions, and stillbirth, all in humans. I keep saying that because this is not research on mice, for example. This is real research on humans. If you want the studies for these, let me know, reach out. I will share them with you, okay? And in the research, they explain that the way this happens, how this happens is that these heavy metals accumulate in tissues, for example, the uterus of people with things like fibroids. They can also go to the brain and disrupt the communication between the brain and the ovaries. It's called the pituitary ovarian axis, for those of you who are into the science. It actually can interfere with the production of our sex hormones, which are things like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. It can directly interfere with the development of eggs in the ovaries, the embryo when it's developing, and the sperm of men. And it can overall increase inflammation in the body because of this, basically because of the damage that it's causing. And that can interfere with hormone health as well. So all of these things really point towards the need for us to be aware of our sources of mercury. So it can be amalgams, it can be through high mercury fish, other heavy metals like aluminum from things like underarm deodorants that contain aluminum, lead contamination from the environment in our foods. Like, people are talking about lead contamination of certain dark chocolates. All of these things need to be taken into consideration. And so the take home message here is that chlorella's ability, its unique ability, and it was discovered in 1890. So, it's kind of an interesting history of chlorella. And in Japan, it's considered a nutritional supplement. Its unique ability to bind heavy metals, support the liver and immune system, provide a rich source of antioxidants and other nutrients, and promote digestive health makes it an excellent natural detox supplement, which, in my opinion, is quite safe because it was studied in pregnant women, okay? And there's no negative effects on the pregnancy. So that is very telling for me. It also supports hormone health and general nutritional status. We discussed how women who are at risk for anemia in pregnancy were given the chlorella, and the women who were given chlorella compared to the women who were not had a decreased risk of developing anemia and protein deficiency associated edema. So that's swelling that some women get with pregnancy. However, what I want to say is that chlorella is called a supplement for a reason. It's supposed to supplement a healthy lifestyle. It will not work to its best capacity if you are not eating a whole foods diet, which includes a healthy, quality source of protein and lots of plants, because those plants provide the polyphenols and the protein provides the amino acids that assist the liver to do the detoxification process, okay? So you don't want to dump a bunch of chlorella into a lifestyle that is lacking these nutrients, because you may run into issues. Now, overall, it's probably better than nothing. It's probably better to take a chlorella supplement than not take it, regardless of your lifestyle, because of its ability to bind toxins and all those sorts of things. But you're not going to experience its full benefits if you're not, following these different, these foundational lifestyle habits like the nutritional piece. Now, we mentioned this before, but I want to get deeper into what kind of chlorella. So the broken cell wall is something that, you may want to consider investing in versus the non-broken cell wall. Again, hard to say if that actually makes a significant difference or not. But there are various different kinds. What you do want to do is choose a clean option with no gut harming additives. So sometimes you will find supplements that have just chlorella. That is awesome. Okay, that's what you're looking for. Or chlorella with other things like spirulina or polyphenols, like artichoke extract, that kind of stuff. But what you don't want are additives that could potentially harm gut health and has been shown to do so in humans, like silicon dioxide. And I find silicon dioxide in so many supplements, it drives me a little bit nuts, even very high-end brand supplements. So, and that's why I never recommend one brand of supplements, because every brand will have some supplements that are really great and some that I personally would not choose because of these unwanted additives. So if you're interested in knowing which chlorella I use and I recommend, you can check the show notes in YouTube. If you're listening to this on my podcast, head over to YouTube, Dr. Patricia Mills MD YouTube channel, and go to the show notes. You want to Google, search chlorella in the search bar to come up with this episode if it's been a while. And you'll see in the show notes the link to Fullscript. Fullscript is a service. It's another company. It's not my company, but they offer over 3,000 supplements. Not all of them are the supplements that I would take. So what I love about Fullscript is that I get to go in, I get to choose my favorite supplements and put them into plans, or highlight them as favorites, so that when you log into Fullscript using my unique link, which you'll see, and this is for Canadians and US citizens only. My apologies, Fullscript does not exist in other countries yet. But when you log in, you'll see the chlorella that I'm currently using, and I update it depending on what becomes available and what I find out about chlorella. So this is a value added. I hope this helps. You definitely do not need to do this, but I often, when I talk about supplements, get people asking me, what do you use? And the thing is, what I say now might be different from what I use 5 years from now. And you might watch this video 5 years from now. So with Fullscript, I can basically update it. So that same link will take you to my current favorites. So I hope this helps. And I look forward to seeing your questions in the comments, in places like YouTube. And I am so grateful for you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, save it, and share it, because sharing is caring, and you never know when someone might benefit from this wild wisdom. I look forward to seeing you next week for our next show, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, or night, depending on when you catch this. Bye, and thank you to everyone who joined me live and participated.